All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. We are here today to address a very important issue, and that is what will happen with the state of Connecticut and how we will step up when SNAP benefits go away on November 1st. So we will start the speaking program with our Department of Social Services Commissioner, Andrea Barton Reeves. Commissioner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As we know, the federal government has announced that no new SNAP benefits will be made available for November. In Connecticut, over 363,000 SNAP recipients are now at risk of food insecurity. Governor Lamont, in his continued commitment to the residents of Connecticut, has committed $3 million to Foodshare to expand its capacity to meet the needs of our residents. Connecticut is only a handful of states to make this commitment to bolster its statewide food pantry distribution. Food security is a basic right, and failing to fund SNAP benefits puts access to food at risk for thousands of working families, children, elderly, and disabled residents throughout the state. That risk is completely unacceptable. And here in Connecticut, Governor Lamont is taking action to assure that high-quality food will be made available to residents throughout Foodshare's vast distribution network. We are grateful to you, Governor Lamont, for your vision, your foresight, and your leadership in these most challenging times. In addition to that, we are also asking to call on everyone who can help. Food pantries will see increased demand, which is one of the reasons this investment is being made today. But they will also need donations and volunteers and financial support. So if you or someone you know is in need of food assistance, please reach out to Foodshare 211 or your local food pantry. Community organizations, businesses, philanthropies, all of us as neighbors, now is the time to step up. Our neighbors need us, and they need us now. Next, I'd like to introduce and bring to the podium the great leader of our state, Governor Ned Lamont.
Thanks, Andrea. As you heard, on Saturday, they stopped replenishing the SNAP cards, the EBT cards, and goes dark for almost 400,000 of our residents and residents across the country in a particularly tough time when people are getting laid off. In the federal government, they call it unpaid furloughs. And this is a time where you want to step up and help people out. And I want to give a special shout out to Jason and Andrea, because this was pretty confusing. They were going to replenish the SNAP benefits, then they weren't going to replenish it. Turn the card on, turn it off. It was, let's say, erratic, to put it mildly. And finally, we wanted to pull the trigger and make sure we could take care of people in time for the cards going off. So Jason has ordered the food early, lined up the trucks, has 650 different distribution all over the state, including mobile vans, making sure we can get the food to you as you need it, when you need it. We'll be able to start that. I think it's on November 3rd, and hopefully be able to make a difference there. We're going to try this out for a couple of weeks. We're going to see what the need is going forward. You know, hopefully they can solve this impasse down in Washington. I think it's long overdue. But if not, I think we'll be here to help out people as best we can going forward. This is going to be able to provide about 3 million meals a week for folks. You get a grocery bag. You get the loaded up with things you need. That can be milk, that can be yogurt, that can be chicken, that can be fresh produce. And making sure we're taking care of people at this time of need. So that's what we're doing. And next up is Jason.
Jakubowski, CEO of Foodshare.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, all of you, for being here today. Welcome to Connecticut Foodshare. We usually do these things downstairs, but we can't because we're already working, as the governor said. We are up here because got the warehouse that's been cranking for the last several hours, getting ready to get things going here. First of all, thank you to Governor Lamont, Lieutenant Governor Byshewitz, and my dear friend Andrea, Barton, Reeves, and her team over at DSS. We have been working on this for a little while, and it is confusing, Governor. You're not wrong. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And a quick thank you to my Connecticut Foodshare team, Jenny Hirsch, and everybody here on our team that has done a wonderful job of putting this together. And our great board of directors. I know we have Themis Claridis and Jared Bruises here. Thank you guys, and thanks to our whole board. We had a meeting the other day, and this was a big topic of conversation, and we really appreciate everything that you do. A couple things that I just wanted to point out. First of all, I think we have to remember things weren't great to begin with on September 30th when we got into this situation. Overall, over the last several months, we've had 36 trailer loads of federal TFAP food have been canceled on us. From October 2024 to October of 2025, we've gotten 850,000 pounds less from the federal government. Through October of fiscal 26, we're also serving 23% more households across the state. It's an increase of 27,000 additional households from the same period last year. And I will say this, and this is represented by the group of legislators and other elected officials behind me, this affects the entire state of Connecticut. Obviously, there aren't the same number of SNAP recipients in every single state, but there is poverty in every single corner of Connecticut. And I think that's something that's very important to remember. Our board authorized $1 million back in early October when we knew that this shutdown was coming out of our own reserves to make sure we took care of the first phase of this, which were TSA federal employees, particularly TSA employees and federal contractors that were working and not getting paid. For the last 3 weeks, we have been up at Bradley Airport and down at Tweed, New Haven Airport, providing food to TSA workers who have been working and have incredibly not been getting paid. And I think they're very thankful for the work that we're doing. We've also been working with my friend Dina Sears-Graves and the Gemma Moran United Way Labor Food Center down in New London on helping to provide some additional food for some of the federal contractors down there. Thankfully, the Coast Guard has been paid. We're knocking on wood that continues, but we'll continue to work with them on the folks at Electric Boat in that part of the state. Now we're facing our nightmare scenario. 360,000 Connecticut residents on SNAP gone on Saturday. SNAP is the first line of defense against hunger in the state of Connecticut and in the United States. For every meal that we provide here at this food bank, SNAP provides 9. There is not enough food at this food bank or every food bank in the country put together to make up for the loss that we're going to see in SNAP. It's also a significant impact on retail. There's 2,500 retail outlets in the state of Connecticut that accept SNAP dollars. It's anywhere from 5 to 15% of their business. This is going to hurt the economy just as much as it's going to hurt working families across the state. The funding that DSS and the governor are announcing today will help us stabilize this network for the next 2 weeks, at least. We have about 500 pantries. We have 110 mobile sites across the state of Connecticut in various different corners of the state. And this will help us maintain the existing, this will help us, at least rephrase it, this will help us sustain the existing network and supplement what we have for them. It is not going to be easy. My team has already started working since Friday on purchasing food, hiring temporary staff to drive trucks and renting trucks. I will not be driving a truck. Neither will you, Governor. But this will be a very careful, methodical, and equitable distribution. Obviously, we don't take the money and divide by 169. There's obviously, everybody will get, every pantry, every one of our partners will get something. It's just a matter of exactly what their volume is going to be and how many people are affected by SNAP in those particular towns. So what this is a big help. It is a godsend. What this is not is a free-for-all. We have an existing network. We don't have to build this out of whole cloth. And we had this conversation with our board the other day. This is not an opportunity to be bringing in 150 additional partners. We have an existing network that this is going to help. This is also not a one-for-one permanent solution. SNAP costs, in the state of Connecticut, about $72 million a month are spent on SNAP. This helps, and this helps in a big way. This does not solve the problem. And I think we know that, and the governor alluded to that in his remarks as well. The solution to the problem is the federal government fully funding SNAP and returning SNAP to people's cards. This is also not a COVID-style emergency distribution. We are not there. That is not something that we want to do. This is also not a replacement of our normal operations. And I had that conversation with a reporter earlier today. What we're talking about here, this additional food going out to our network, is in addition to what we do 24/7 anyway. There are still 515,000 people in Connecticut who are food insecure. We still have to do our regular jobs. We still have to raise the money. 95% of our funding comes from the private sector. We still have to do that. And then we have to do this on top of that. We started this morning. Like I said, that's why we have this press conference upstairs. Agencies should start to fuel more food next Monday, which is the reason that the governor is authorizing this now, about a week before it's about to go out. Last thing I'll say while I have the microphone, I think one of the things you see by the group of people in front of us here, one thing I've always said, we've talked about food insecurity often here in Connecticut. It's never been a partisan issue. I think folks in Washington could learn a thing or two from the state of Connecticut, and the fact that there are folks from all parties that know how to come together and know how to make change, whether you're on the Democratic side of the aisle or the Republican side of the aisle. And I applaud the governor, and I applaud the legislative leadership for embracing that. So, thank you, and Lieutenant Governor, back to you.
Thank you so much. Jason, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. We are so grateful to Foodshare for your partnership and your leadership. We were here last week at the same time to talk about how we were going to step up and make sure that federal government workers, TSA members, and others would get food from Foodshare. The governor and I are so grateful for the inspiring work that you do every day. We are facing a catastrophe in our country because starting on Saturday, November 1st, 1 in 10 Connecticut residents will no longer be able to put food on their table with their SNAP cards. And that means that 360,000 people in our state are at risk of going hungry. The governor and I and our legislative partners thought it was critically important to step up and make sure that people in Connecticut get the food that they need. And that's why we are here today. This is, as Jason has talked about, not a long-term solution to this problem. We have to deal with food insecurity, especially for our kids, because 1 in 7 of our adults are food insecure, and 1 in 6 of our kids are food insecure. So it's really important that Connecticut leads. I believe we are the first state in the country, Governor, to stand up and say, we are going to step up and take care of people who are losing their SNAP benefits. We hope that other states will follow our lead, and we ask our Congress and our federal government to step up and fix this problem. We are leading in a bipartisan way here in Connecticut, and I find it incredible that our congressmen are being paid while our federal workers who are doing public safety and health-related critical infrastructure work in our country are not being paid and are also at risk of going hungry. So I hope that we get our national priorities straight and follow Connecticut's lead and take care of our families. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our Commissioner of Agriculture, Brian Holbrook.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you to everybody who joined us, and a special thanks to Foodshare. Jason, you and your team for where'd you go? Oh my goodness, jeez. For all the work. I mean, throughout the past 6 years, Jason and I have got to know each other, and I've got to know a number of his teams. The commitment that they have to delivering for everybody across the state is remarkable. Just want to add a couple of other programs that are out and about and that are running, in addition to the $3 million that's being made available today that the Lamont Biscuits Administration has announced, in addition to the continuation of the WIC benefits that we have already announced. I think people are still thinking about, that may not cover the need. And there are other programs out there that we're encouraging people to take advantage of. First, I want to talk about the Connecticut Farmers Market Nutrition Program. That is continuing to operate across 100 farmers markets across the state, 32 different farmers markets and farm stands that people who are enrolled on WIC and eligible seniors can participate in. And they should be going through their local WIC office to see if they are to get their card. WIC participants will have $45 to spend. That's each participant in the household. And eligible seniors will have $40 to spend at these farmers markets and farm stands. That program will run through November 30th. We have the opportunity to revisit that if we need to. But that's an opportunity for people to take advantage of program dollars that the state budget and the legislature made available through this program. To find a participating market or a farm, please visit ctgrown.gov/FMNP to find your local market. And if you're a WIC enrollee, as I mentioned before, you can also contact your WIC office. So far this year, we've had just under $850,000 that have been redeemed at farmers markets and farm stands through this program. We still have money available, and I encourage everybody to take advantage of the dollars that they have. We also have a number of farmers markets that still will continue to double SNAP programming through at least October 31st. And we can work on messaging depending on what the feds will allow after October 31st. But for people who are concerned about stretching their limited dollars, their grocery budget, going to a farmer's market, you can swipe your card for $10 and get $20 worth of purchasing power. It's a way to extend your limited dollars on the SNAP program, at least now until October 31st. So I encourage folks to visit a farmer's market. During the course of this week, there are over 30 markets across the state that do SNAP doubling that they could take advantage of. And then the last, as a continuation program, the Local Food Purchase Agreement program. The state of Connecticut has contracted with pantries across the state. We still have about $800,000 for different pantries and food hubs to purchase directly from Connecticut farms to distribute through the network. That's in addition to the $3 million that is available. So we'll have the opportunity to support Connecticut farmers and make sure that Connecticut residents have access to those great dollars. Those great produce. So like I said, we've got about $800,000 that's still left to spend on that program. For any farmer out there who's wondering how they can get involved in that program, please contact the department. We will connect and help navigate through your local pantry and how we can help coordinate that. So those are a couple of different options that are ongoing that the Department of Agriculture has, and we encourage residents to take advantage of during this time of need. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now our great Congresswoman, Rosa DeLauro.
Thank you very much, Susan. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. And I might add, some of us have deferred our salary during the shutdown. So not everyone, but some of us have. So say good afternoon. I want to just say a particular thank you to you, Governor, and to Jason for having the vision, the commitment, and quite frankly, the humanity to understand that people are hungry. We can talk food security, but it's about hunger. And with the addition of the funds, with the distribution system that we have, we're able to allow people to be able to eat. The United States has an abundance of food. There isn't anyone no child, no adult, no one who should go hungry in the United States. And in this congressional district, 1 in 7 people are hungry. It is really unconscionable. But I want to just say that 42 million Americans rely on SNAP for their next meal. That includes 16 million children, 8 million seniors, 4 million people with disabilities, and 1.2 million veterans. Over 300,000, almost 400,000 people in Connecticut depend on SNAP every year to put food on their tables. It is a program that has its roots in the aftermath of the Great Depression, when we as a nation recognize that the government has a responsibility to prevent its citizens from starving in the streets. It has become our nation's most effective anti-hunger program. And there may be people here who are uncomfortable with this, but President Trump has decided that they do not feel bound by this responsibility. They have determined that their duty as public servants does not include providing food assistance for hungry families. They have decided, yes, to let people starve. Shockingly cruel that they have made this decision and that providing food for hungry Americans is not a priority. The big, beautiful bill recently cut $189 billion from the SNAP program, forcing 22 million Americans to lose some or all of their benefits. I am the ranking member of the House Appropriations Committee, and I promise you, there is money to fund this program. We set aside a contingency fund each year for the explicit purpose of supporting SNAP in the event of an emergency. And the statute is right here. It is right here. There is, as we speak, at least $5 billion in contingency funds that by law, let me repeat, that by law must be used to pay out SNAP benefits and make sure families have access to the support they need. And just last week, my colleagues in the Congress and I sent a letter to Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins urging them to abide by the law. What they are doing is holding back on this contingency fund is illegal. We ask that they spend the money that we set aside for them. 214 members signed this letter. But the administration, Secretary Rollins, Director Vogt, have decided that they are going to withhold the money, as they have been doing since the start of the administration, that they are going to keep it from Americans all across the country who rely on it. And it is 1 in 10 residents here in the state of Connecticut. And I say it plainly, because I speak plainly. It is for political purposes, a level of cruelty and corruption that I do not understand. They are trying to blame Democrats for this, but the facts are clear. They control the government and finding new ways every day to fund the things that they care about. Yes, $40 billion to send Argentina for a bailout. $300 million to pay for a new ballroom to host billionaires. $230 million that might make the Justice Department pay the president personally. And they found $200 million for a pair of private jets for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. But now when it comes to spending the money that Congress specifically, I repeat that because you must understand it is the law of the land. Congress specifically set aside to feed hungry families. They are putting their hands over their eyes and claiming that they cannot find the funds. You know, many have been born rich. Many have not known or will ever know the desperation that hunger forces on a family. The donors, the billionaire donors, they don't have to worry about. They're getting 3 squares a day and maybe more. They don't worry about where their next meal is coming from. The money is there. I repeat, the money is there to pay out SNAP benefits beyond November 1st. The only thing stopping the benefits from going out is the Trump administration. Congress set aside this money for this exact purpose, and it must be spent. So I thank Connecticut, and I believe you are, Lieutenant Governor. Connecticut is the first state in the nation to move forward in this effort. So proud of this state and people, yes, coming together, because no one should go to bed hungry in the United States of America. Please, we cannot remain silent. We need to stand up, and we need to let people know that, yes, the money is there. Let us not illegally hold on to that money. Let's get it out as quickly and as soon as we possible. It can get done. All we do is need the willingness and the political will to be able to get it done for the sake of families throughout this country. The Trump administration must allow these benefits to be paid.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. I'm going to bring up together State Representative Tony Walker and State Representative Eleni Kavro-DeGraw. And Mary Mashinsky.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. We wanted to get up here together because we wanted to demonstrate the House commitment to making sure that we work together with everybody up here to help Connecticut. We are trying very hard to understand all of the things that are coming from Washington right now, but we cannot hold back what we need to start doing. And that, the governor, I thank you for this, Governor. He's left? Oh. He didn't want to hear me. Okay. No, but I mean, it's really important that we understand that this is the first state in the nation that is taking action. I don't know if you knew this, but we had actually thought about trying to figure out how to address the SNAP benefits that were being cut. But we were warned that if we did anything to try and meet those dollars, that we would get penalized in other areas. Those are things that we have to hear every other day from Washington about how we need to make sure that our state is whole. So I thank you all for being here. I thank you, Governor. I thank you, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, for laying it out and telling us exactly what it's about. Connecticut does not need division. It doesn't need to sit and say that we are a blue state or a red state. We are the state of Connecticut, and we need to feed the people of Connecticut, house them, and make sure that opportunities that we know we were afforded, they continue. We cannot go back. We cannot change what we've done. We need to move forward, and we ask Washington to make sure that they pay for those things. Thank you.
Thank you. I just stand here as the co-chair of the Feeding Connecticut Caucus, and we were just here a few weeks ago celebrating. And so I want to thank the governor, the lieutenant governor, our commissioners. The chaos that has come out of Washington, unfortunately, has made it very difficult, as you have heard, for us to make a plan for how to move forward. But this is where I give all the credit to Foodshare, to Jason Jakubowski and the team, because we know during the pandemic they were able to mobilize and make sure that the people of Connecticut got fed. And that was at a time when everyone had a lot of uncertainty, and sometimes it was 1,500 people a day at Rentschler Field that were getting fed. That is critically important because hopefully we will not get to such a state that we have to worry about emergency food distribution, and we are so grateful that this will shore up the pantry system. But there was a reason why we originally asked for $10 million to cover the CT-NAP program, and that was because of those federal cuts that were coming and the importance of making sure that there would be enough money to shore up those pantries. Now we have a little bit of extra money, but again, because of the cuts, we cannot food bank our way out of this. So we are going to do the very best we can. It's wonderful to be able to say that we are the first to step up and do this, but it is going to take all of our efforts. And as was mentioned, if you are in a position to be able to donate to your local food pantry, we ask that you reach out and find out what their needs are, not just clean out your pantry of things that you don't want, but to make sure that you're donating money or that you are donating the items that they are requesting, because their shelves are a little empty right now, and because, as you've noticed in your own grocery prices, their cost has gone up in order for them to be able to fill their shelves of the items that are not coming from being a partner of Foodshare. So we hope that you, if you are able, please be able to do that. Otherwise, for those of you who need to seek pantries, there is no shame in it. Please go to a pantry. Please find a Foodshare mobile near you and get the help that you need. And again, thank you to the governor and the administration and to Foodshare for all they are about to do for the people of Connecticut.
Thank you. And now I'd invite Senator Kathy Austin to say a few words.
Matt's coming up too.
Okay,
Matt's coming
sure.
up too, so that we can talk together. First, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to see all of you here today. But I do have to say that there's a lot that is going on. And I appreciate the dollar amounts going to Foodshare, but I have Dina Sears-Graves here today, and she runs the Gemma Moran United Way Labor Center Food Pantry down in Norwich that has access to food pantries that are not on our current list of food pantries to be afforded any funding under this mechanism. There's still work that needs to be done because we can't leave out fully a third of the state and the food pantries that are down there and not get the food coverage for those pantries. It's extremely important. And we have our own specific needs. We have the sub-base down there. And yes, somebody decided that they were going to put funding in for the salaries for active duty military. I'm very happy about that, but there are a lot of veterans in southeastern Connecticut that are going to be out of funds and not be covered for this. We also have the Coast Guard Academy. The Coast Guard Academy, as was said earlier, is not laid off, and they did get some funding. But that does not count government employees that are furloughed. And a lot of government employees at both the sub-base and the Coast Guard Academy have been furloughed and are not receiving any funds whatsoever. So there is still work that has to be done. I have been, as all of my colleagues are, very concerned about this issue. I remember my mom telling me, and my parents ran a local little restaurant out of a bowling alley, and maybe that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but we made all of our food homemade. And it supported 7 children and 40 cousins that all worked there at one time or another. Well, my mom said that on her back porch during the Depression that nobody left the back porch without getting some soup or getting some food. And that's where we are today with this that is going on today. I appreciate $3 million. The program for SNAP is $72 million. We would need to provide $3 million a day for 24 days to cover that, and that is not enough. And that is not enough. I am extremely worried about people that are going to be calling me on Saturday because they have no money for food, and you know, and I am very worried on the 10 towns that I represent. 4 of them are distressed municipalities, and they just don't have the resources to handle this problem. And it's not just children, it's seniors. I got a call before 7 o'clock this morning from one of my seniors who has wind blowing through her back door and is not going to have enough food for her to last the whole month. These are things that are real, and I find it to be absolutely unacceptable that we in this country, a country that I fought for, a country that I was willing to sign that blank check, is not funding food for people, food for seniors, food for veterans, food for children. It's unacceptable to me, and I will continue fighting until we are providing food across the spectrum of any person that does not have enough food in their house, where children are going to bed hungry, where seniors who get up at 5 in the morning have nothing to make for themselves. It is unacceptable. It is cruel, and I can't stand by and let that happen. And I will be one of those people that will be standing at their back door waiting to feed people. Thank you. Matt?
Thank you. I'm State Senator Matt Lesser. I'm the co-chair of the Human Services Committee, where we've been monitoring this slow-rolling humanitarian crisis very closely. You know, folks have alluded to this, but H.R. 1, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, cut about 40,000 Connecticut residents off of SNAP food assistance. And those folks are impacted no matter what happens in Congress because those cuts are moving forward, unfortunately. And across the country, about 56,000 American veterans are going to be losing their food assistance because of that legislation. But this is the big, the even bigger crisis, of course, is the Halloween surprise. Because, Friday night, kids are going to go out trick-or-treating across our country, across our state. And in the richest state and the richest country on earth, on Saturday morning, people are going to realize that they've lost access. Over 360,000 people are going to lose their food benefits, and it's just heartbreaking. In my neighborhood in the north end of Middletown, a huge percentage of people are on SNAP and rely on that program. We're going to see the impact almost immediately. It's going to impact our local bodegas, our grocery stores, and families all across. But it's not just poor communities or working class communities, it's every community in the state. When you look at the numbers, there isn't one region that gets SNAP, it's all towns in the state. And the impact is staggering. And Kathy was right. Look, this is an important step forward, and I'm grateful to the governor for providing this $3 million. It is an important step forward. But we're looking, when you do the math, it's the amount that we're losing right now in federal assistance is $17 million a week. And so what we're going to need to do, figure out how to get creative to support Jason, to support all of our food pantries out there, to make sure that as we go forward, we can address those real humanitarian needs that are in my district and across the state.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And our final speaker is State Representative Vincent Cantalora.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I just want to start out by acknowledging our Mayor Cervoni from Wallingford, who is here, having been a former representative of Wallingford before redistricting. I also served with Mayor Mashinsky for this great town, and it's great that they are hosting Connecticut Foodshare in their community. I want to thank the governor for inviting me to this press conference, give me an opportunity to give a Republican perspective. We share the concerns of everyone of what has happened with this Connecticut SNAP, with the SNAP food program, the funding coming to an end, hopefully temporarily. No question, we are broken at the federal level. There is an impasse that neither side of the aisle wants to break. People are being leveraged now, and people are being hurt. And I stand in support of the governor's first initiative, and I think it's just the beginning of a conversation. We all know that $3 million is going to go away very quickly, and it's also not a substitution for SNAP. This is just supplanting a program that we need somehow to return. And so our caucus is certainly willing to work with this administration to figure out a way to get more funds into these programs if we see this problem become long-term. And so thank you, Governor, for doing this, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative. And now we'll take on-topic questions.
Where's the $3 million coming from?
It's going to come out of the Medicaid budget, and if this goes on longer, we'll have to pay up the shortfall out of the rainy day fund.
And that would be state Medicaid funds, right?
That's correct.
Hey, Governor, mind you, stick around. How is the $3 million figure computed? As several people have noted, it's, the weekly loss is between 17 and 18 million. Is the system that now exists incapable of absorbing more than $3 million in new funding? So just what's the explanation?
I talked to Jason about this at some length. I just figure we have to walk before we run. He's got his entire current load he's taking care of, plus an additional 3 million meals a week. I wanted to make sure we can take care of what we've said. Got to make sure all the food banks around the state have the volunteers they need to make sure that we're able to take care of this. And we'll reevaluate in a couple of weeks.
And I've got slightly different answers to this question, so I'm going to ask you, and perhaps the commission will jump in as well. What are the legal, procedural, and perhaps political barriers to simply the state of Connecticut putting money into the existing EBT card system?
Yeah.
I've been told you can. I'd like to understand what are the actual.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Actually, the memo that came out last week from FNS made it very clear. Any state that attempts to do that, first of all, will not be reimbursed, and it will that money will never be seen again by the state that does that. It is strictly a federal program. It is fully federally funded. The way that, and my SNAP director is actually here, so he can fill in where I may leave some gaps. The way that SNAP works is that we determine eligibility as states. The money goes directly from the federal government based on that eligibility to the vendor that almost every state works with in order to load the SNAP cards, and the money goes to the SNAP recipients. As a state, we don't have any access to those particular funds and the ways in which those cards are loaded. We simply determine whether a person is eligible for the SNAP benefit or not. FNS has been, and I say that it's Food and Nutrition Services out of the Department of Agriculture, I'm sorry, I live with this every day, so I tend to use acronyms, has been very clear that we do not have the capacity, we do not have the authority, and if we choose to do so by standing up our own state program, that we will not be reimbursed for those costs. Okay.
But have they elaborated, is it because of the cards? I mean, right now we're backfilling for WIC. The state puts in its own money for Medicaid. What is so different about SNAP that they're telling you you cannot do this with SNAP when the state has and does do this with other federally funded programs?
So I really can't answer that question for you because I don't know why the federal government has made a distinction between SNAP and WIC, but indeed they have. It's a question that I think many states have, but there's been a determination, as we all know, on the federal level to continue to fund WIC, but they've been very clear that that is not an option that's available for SNAP.
Governor, at what point will you need to either get legislative authority to move money around, or for you to declare an emergency that would allow you to tap into surplus funds?
Well, let me talk to leadership. From my point of view, hopefully never, because we're already being able to take care of this. We're taking care of this out of the surplus and the rainy day. We're going to have a deficiency. If this goes on too long, we'll be able to make up the difference that way as well. So I think we've got a strategy in place that works pretty well.
Can I ask you a quick question? I just want to clarify. You said the $3 million, it'll translate into 3 million meals a week that will serve folks. Is that what you were saying?
You would say even more than that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, $3 million. Every dollar usually equals about 2 meals, so it would be 3 million meals. $3 million over 2 weeks would be 6 million meals over 2 weeks. I think we got to be clear about what the time frame is here. This isn't ad infinitum. So,
right.
So 6 million meals over the course of 2 weeks.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Yep.
Thank you.
I thought you said 3 weeks at the beginning of your remarks. You're saying now it's 2.
And by the way, if you're doing the math, Jason is delivering a meal at about 1/8 the cost of what SNAP is doing.
Jason, can you explain? Okay, I understand. The $3 million you can buy more food.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the distribution network, because you guys are both wholesalers, you supply the food pantries, you're retailers, and that you run the mobile units.
Mm-hmm.
So can you describe through what mechanism are you going to be getting more food out there? Is it simply going to be that there's going to be more food available at the pantries and in the mobile?
Yes, it is basically what we're doing is we are taking how do we put more food into our existing network of pantries and mobile sites across the state of Connecticut?
And are you, to address Senator Austin's concern that there are parts of the state in which I don't believe your mobile units go. Is there any discussion about new mobile sites or expanding the network of pantries that are currently served by Foodshare?
No discussion on more mobile sites or additional pantries within the network. I can say that the Gemma Moran food distribution is absolutely on our list, and we will be talking with Dina about what we can get their folks and their mobiles down there as well. But they are already an existing partner. This is not an opportunity for any pantry to say, hey, we suddenly want to to partner with you. That's not something we have the ability to maintain as it is now. We have a very strong agency network. I see a lot of them here in the crowd today. We need to take care of the existing network first. So this is just to provide more food for the existing network. This is not a COVID-style distribution where it's an open distribution in different spots around the state.
So what should people know? I think Representative Jakubowski gave it, and I think you spoke to us earlier, but what should people do who want to help out now? If I want to give food to Foodshare, or if I want to, there's got to be a pantry here in Wallingford.
Yep.
How would I,
Here's what I would say. If you want to collect cans of food, and a lot of people do during this time, you can bring them to Connecticut Foodshare. We're going to give them to our local pantry. If you want to collect cans of food, you're almost always better off giving them to your local food pantry. They can take them. They can put them to use immediately. If you give them to us, we're just going to take a couple of days before we give it to them. If you want to donate food there, if you want to donate money, obviously, as I mentioned before, Connecticut Foodshare, we still have to do what we're doing on a daily basis. So people can go to ctfoodshare.org to make a monetary donation or sign up to volunteer. The volunteer piece is very, very, very important. We don't have staff at all of there's not enough staff on a daily basis for us to do what we do. We're thankful we have volunteers so people can go sign up to volunteer.
and you mentioned cans, but what are some of the foodstuffs that people could give?
If people want to make donations to their local food pantries, anything that's shelf stable is always best. Fresh produce and frozen foods is not always the easiest thing for our local pantries to take. So shelf stable for local pantries would be great. What we're purchasing with the dollars that the governor's talking about here today will be some of those more desirable, harder to handle products like dairy, yogurt, produce, and of course meat. So that's the hardest thing to come by. The problem that a lot of local pantries have is, we have some very large pantries in the state. We have some very small pantries in the state. They can all only take the maximum that they can fit in their refrigerators. So,
What was the trigger during COVID to do the massive Rentschler thing versus what's happening now?
I think when Brian Holbrook, when we hit our heads on the table and realized that, honestly, it was more of a qualitative thing than a quantitative thing. We saw that very quickly. The lines were filling up at pantries across the state. We actually started a emergency distribution at the Hartford Regional Market, if you remember. And I think after the third or fourth time we had to call the Hartford police because there were too many cars in line, we had the conversation with Governor Lamont about going to Rentschler Field. I don't know that there's any specific trigger in mind. I could say that the conversations that Commissioner... I don't know if I'm looking at, but the conversations I've had with the Commissioner Barton Reeves, Commissioner Hurlburt, and Lieutenant Governor and the Governor would be, it is something that at some point, if our lines triple instead of double or quadruple instead of double, we're going to have that conversation sooner rather than later.
Commissioner?
Hi.
We're not ready to go there yet, and she could speak for the rest about emergency.
Is there anything new as far as outreach? You have a database of SNAP recipients. Is there going to be any effort to inform them, remind them of the locations, the nearest locations of mobile food pantries or longstanding food pantries close to them?
Yes, we will be doing that. So as soon as our press conference concludes today, we do have an entire communication strategy where through social media, we mostly use Facebook and Instagram because that's where many of our recipients get their information. And to all of our recipients, many of them also allow us to send them text messages. We will let them know that this will be happening. The food will be available, additional food at food pantries on November 3rd. And people can also, if they have a question, they can also call United Way 211 to figure out where their local food pantry is.
Is there currently anything on a state website that lists them, or if not, will there be?
Yes, so there will be on our site, then we'll have a link to the places where people can get a list. And I also want to make sure that I call out our community action agencies who have really been a significant partner to us, so supportive of all of the work that they're doing. So if you're near a community action agency, they can also direct you to a near food pantry as well.
And I would like to say, just so everybody's really clear on it, many of us in the legislature are grabbing all of our food pantry information and getting it out. Yes. We have a whole mechanism relative to our newsletters that will include those food pantries that Foodshare is not connected to, because we're gonna have to get all hands on deck, so.
Jason, can you,
Imagine. They have the system down to a T. They know what they're doing. They're gonna list it, it's on a website. They have it all organized. They know how to distribute the food. They're asking for donations. You bring your canned goods, whatever it is. Can you imagine what the $5 billion would do, which is by law to be expended for this very reason? Let us deal with the root cause of this problem. Our guys are going to make it work one way or another with their commitment and their dedication and their years of experience. They know how to do it. But you can't do more with less. And the money is there. It's at least $5 billion. And we can't get an accurate number from them about how much is there, because they continue to move money around. This is impoundment, to use the word I use all the time. This is stealing the funds that have been appropriated by Democrats and Republicans, signed into law by the President of the United States for this very purpose. Let's put our emphasis on getting them to release the $5 billion.
Rosa, are you aware of any legal efforts to enforce that?
Yeah, they're looking at that right now, yes. And the interesting point that should be made, because the governor is putting up this money, and the state is, and we're doing this, and then they come out this morning and say that if the states put up the funds, that their costs will not be reimbursed. That would be a first. All of the benefits in a shutdown have been paid out, and in the past, the money has been reimbursed.
Okay, we're going to have a final comment by our DSS commissioner.
And it's very short. The outreach campaign started at 1:30 today. Okay, thank you. Yes.
All right, thanks everyone, appreciate